Oh, sunny Italy, the wonderful Dolomites bathed in sunshine. A skier's paradise, plain and simple. Ah, spend your winter break there. Whether for sport or with the family, leave those forever overcast hills behind and dive into these gorgeous landscapes. Ah, sun-drenched slopes. But what if your wallet's empty? It's far, it's expensive, who can afford it? By plane? Well, flying for free is tough. By bike? Maybe, but that's probably beyond my strength, even if they say it's healthy. Alright, let me explain. Here are my tricks for a cheap stay in a ski paradise. As our model destination, let's take the Dolomites, around the Sella Ronda, during the Christmas holiday period. I've been there, I've seen it, I will tell you about it. First, a quick intro, what even is Sella Ronda? If by some miracle someone doesn't know. So, Sella Ronda is a ski circuit in the heart of the Dolomites. Quite possibly the most beautiful mountains in the world. A lot of people say that, and you know what? I believe them. You can ski in either direction. Clockwise is the orange Sella Ronda, the other way is green. It's a one-of-a-kind ski experience. And the mountains all around us are simply stunning. But this area isn't just Sella Ronda, there are loads of resorts here. Many are connected and everything works on a single lift pass. One pass covers it all, and to explore everything you would need years. Suffice it to say, in total it's 1,200 kilometers of runs. If we want to keep it economical, the choice almost always comes down to the car. Better a bigger one than a smaller one, you will have to load it up. What should go in? A bunch of ski setups, not sure it's better, but it's definitely cheaper. To buy used sets, it will cost less than 1 week of renting. And a stash of food. I know, eating at all-inclusive hotels is nice, and even better in slopeside restaurants. But the cheap option pretty much rules that out. It will end up being 1, maybe 2 sit-down meals, lunch on the mountain, and maybe a coffee, like when you need to warm up. We go for a so-called meal prep, or just home-cooked food in containers. Sure, you can buy it at your local shop, but it's tastier, healthier, and sometimes even a bit cheaper. To make it yourself. Stews, casseroles, whatever comes to mind. It's a fair bit of work, but at least we won't poison ourselves with too many chemicals. And for the older folks, it brings back those student days memories. For comfort and for the budget, the key thing is choosing the right place to stay. These days, the easiest way is to use one of the accommodation booking sites, where it can be reasonably cheap and still decent. But I'm afraid it won't be a luxury hotel right by the slope. The cheapest options are apartments and small flats. The bigger, the better. It's definitely better to rent one big apartment for 2 families than 2 smaller ones. It's much cheaper. Forget prepared breakfasts, ski lifts a few dozen meters from the bed, and look for a place further from the slopes, so you can drive to ski each day. How far is personal preference? 20 minutes won't hurt anyone. Maybe 40 minutes to an hour is still doable too. When picking a place, it's worth checking a few more things. Since we'll be driving anyway, we can base ourselves between different resorts. That way, during a week-long stay, we can ski somewhere different every day, turning the minus into a plus. Another thing is the exact location. There are many offers with beautiful cabins on high meadows and great views. That can be a good idea. But remember, if it dumps snow, you might get cut off completely. A much safer option is down on the valley floor, by the main road. As I said, that's what we did. Here's our small booked little chalet. definitely not very luxurious, the standard you get in Italy is quite decent. What can be surprising though, is that usually there is no bedding provided, meaning no devout covers or sheets. You have to bring your own, and here again a roomy car solves the problem. And anyway, on this trip we start somewhere else almost every day. If we are heading to the Dolomites, the Sella Ronda, Marmolada, Cortina d'Ampezzo, or Mount Lagazuoi with the famous Marmolada run, we always need to remember that each drive is basically a drive over a high mountain pass, and often two. So even though the distances aren't huge, the drives take time. When it's snowing, the passes are often closed. And if snowfall is light, they won't close the roads. But for a while the driving can still be really tough. Once we reach our chosen place, we still have to park. Depending on the parking lot, it can be free or paid. Day rates vary by lot, from about 5 euros to say 10. Even in proper multi-story garages, so it's quite cheap. To ski we need a lift pass, and here there is not much to save. Passes get more expensive every year. They are very expensive, but luckily there is a very sensible discount system. If you buy for longer, each additional day gets much cheaper. Kids and juniors get big discounts too. And if we buy a Dolomiti Super Ski Pass at least 2 days in advance, we'll get 20 euros off. But let's leave that less pleasant part, so this film isn't only about preparations. I wanted to show you a few regions. So let's start with the Sella Ronda circuit. On this trip I got to ski the orange route clockwise. We started at Passo Cambolongo. But of course, since it's a loop, you can start anywhere along it. A full lap, depending on pace, takes from half a day to a full day. And honestly, there is no other way to put it. It's one of the biggest ski attractions in the world. Most of the pistes are red. They are not especially difficult. But for beginners, I would rather not recommend Sella Ronda. For beginners in this area, there are two excellent regions. One is a big part of Alta Badia, right by Passo Cambolongo. We're on a broad plateau, gently rolling terrain surrounded by the majestic Dolomite peaks. There's an endless amount of wide blue runs. Plus, some of them are very long, really pleasant for beginners. There is also a part of the resort off to the side of the Sella Ronda, near the village of Colfosco, as well as a northern spur that ends at Santa Croce, Holy Cross. A small church high in the mountains, often visited by skiers. Another beginner-friendly area is Seiser Alm, in Italian Alpe di Susi. The runs are shorter here, but mostly very easy as well. The whole area lies on meadows and rolling hills. At the foot of higher peaks, including the majestic Sassolungo, Langkofel, and in fact, all of this is linked into one hole. From one place to another, you can ski on your skis. To get into Seiser Alm, though, you still have to cross through the village. And since we are here, I will show you a little curiosity. Val Gardena sits on both sides of the valley, where the towns are located. And under the town of Santa Cristina, they built an underground metro for skiers. Because there wasn't really room for another lift, and it would have spoiled the view. So you can now ride our 1.2 kilometer underground funicular. You have to admit that infrastructure is impressive. But let's get back to Sella Ronda. It runs through terrain belonging to 4 resorts. But if you have a Dolomiti Super Ski Pass, you might not even notice the transitions. So, we started from Alta Badia, we skied through Araba and Val di Fassa, Now we are continuing through Val Gardena, though not through the path with the underground metro. We do cross the street in Selva and then we keep going back toward Alta Badia. We pass through a big chunk of it to finally reach our starting point again, Passo Campalongo, which, taken at a relaxed pace, fills an entire ski day. Since we were just in Val Gardena, in the section beyond the metro, I should mention that from the famous peak Civetta, two very long runs drop down into the valley. One is over 5 kilometers long with a 1000 meters vertical drop. It takes you down to that underground station via the area of the small peak called Razor. That's a serious descent. But from the other side of Civetta, largely alongside an impressive gondola, carrying dozens of people at once, runs one of the Dolomites' most famous descents. It's the legendary La Longa. Brochures say it's over 10 kilometers long. But in reality it's not that much, more like 7, maybe 8. And still, it's very long and very scenic. In its lower part it runs through a gorge, and you can admire, for example, a beautiful frozen waterfall. From the bottom of this run you can get over to Seiser Alm, but there is no metro here. Just a few conveyor belts and moving walkways. And finally a short walk through the village. But La Longa isn't the longest nor the biggest descent in the area. That crown, both for length and for vertical drop over 1,000 and 1,800 meters, goes to the run from the highest peak of the Dolomites, Marmolada. Strategically choosing our accommodation lets us get here first thing in the morning, which is crucial because only then can you ski this run on an almost untouched slope. To the top of Marmolada we are 3 gondolas, meaning 3 sections with 2 intermediate stations. They are similar to the ones going up to Civetta. They take a big group at once, packed like sardines. At the upper transfer station, you can visit what's said to be the highest museum in the world. The Museo della Grande Guerra, the Great War, as Italians call World War I, whose front line ran through the Dolomites for years. The museum is modest, but the view through the window is insane. Finally, we reach the 6-story upper station. No one can resist a photo session on the viewing platform. And there is plenty to see. Especially since we get hit on a beautiful sunny day, the second day of Christmas. Everyone's taking selfies. But time aside, we want the slope in good condition. And more gondolas full of skiers are already arriving. The run is red, even steep in places, but nothing extreme. What it is, though, is very long, and because it's so famous, it draws huge crowds. Some people struggle here a lot, and by afternoon the moguls get nasty. Since we came up in the second cabin, we had perfect conditions. The descent is truly impressive. Honestly, this one run alone would be reason enough to come here. You just have to be here early. From here you can ski back toward the Sella Ronda to the town of Araba, but again it's quite time consuming. So for this day, after Marmolada, we had another plan. we headed to the nearby resort, Civetta. It's clearly smaller than its nearby neighbors, but people praise it for its cozy, intimate feel and a certain atmosphere. There aren't many long runs with big vertical drops though, and during our visit it was even worse. Winters are getting weaker year by year, and we were there over Christmas this time. Snow was especially scarce, so almost nowhere could you ski all the way to the bottom. We explored the higher up pistas instead. I would say it's a great resort for beginners, but maybe not entirely. Some of the runs are excellent, but the connecting routes are troublesome. Some are scraped out and fairly hard, and others are unbearably flat and simply boring. We also planned a visit to the Lagazuoi area and to Cortina d'Ampezzo. Unfortunately, the lack of snow beat us. Two key runs, including the Armentarola, still weren't open over Christmas because of the snow shortage. Open, however, was a stunning run, probably one of the prettiest in the world, in the Cinque Torri area with a view of the magnificent Tofana di Roses, also one of the higher peaks in the Dolomites. In Cortina d'Ampezzo itself, a lot of pistas were closed too, some due to lack of snow, and some because preparations were underway for the upcoming Winter Olympics. But you could still ski nicely in the upper bowl beneath Tofana di Roses. All in all, we spent 5 wonderful days on the slopes. And sadly, it was time to head home. And a few final summary words. Many people argue that even though skiing conditions in your country are terrible, and the press keeps reporting huge crowds and endless queues, a trip to the Alps is simply too expensive. If we wanted a proper hotel, sure. But if we lower our expectations a bit and swap time in Highlander Tavern for some time on the slopes, then a trip using this recipe comes out maybe 30% more expensive than spending that time, for example, in Poland or Czech Republic. And the skiing enjoyment is so much greater, you can't even measure it. It's not 200, 300%, it's simply a completely different thing. And with that message, I will say goodbye. If you liked it, leave a like, or better yet, please subscribe. See you on the slopes. That's it for today.